Katara and Sokka, two siblings from the Southern Water Tribe, go fishing in a small canoe. Katara uses her waterbending to trap one in a water bubble. Sokka accidentally hits the bubble and ruins her catch, leading to an argument between them. While they fight, water suddenly stirs, and their canoe crashes into large ice chunks, leaving them stranded on a floating iceberg. Katara yells at Sokka for ignoring her instructions, and in her frustration, she accidentally bends the water around her, cracking open a large glowing iceberg. The ice splits, revealing a boy with glowing tattoos and a large creature inside. The iceberg opens, and a brilliant beam of light shoots into the sky. Far away, Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation sees the light and believes it's the Avatar. He orders his crew to sail toward it, convinced that this is his chance to regain his lost honor. Meanwhile, Katara and Sokka find a young boy who quickly collapses into Katara's arms. When he wakes up, he cheerfully asks her if she wants to go penguin sledding. Sokka is suspicious, but the boy, Aang, doesn't seem dangerous. He introduces his flying bison Appa and offers to take them back to their village. Once there, Katara and Aang grow close. She hopes he can teach her waterbending. Aang enjoys playing with the village children, but Sokka doesn't trust him and wants him gone, as he tries hopelessly to train the little boys in the village to be warriors. Aang reveals he doesn't know about the war that has been going on for 100 years, shocking both Katara and Sokka. Later, Aang and Katara go penguin sledding as they have a wonderful time with it. Unexpectedly, they come across an old Fire Nation ship frozen in ice, trapped by the Southern Waterbenders half a century ago. Inside, they accidentally trigger a flare, alerting Zuko to their location. Katara realizes Aang must have been frozen for a century. Aang is stunned to learn that the air nomads are gone. Zuko, watching from his ship, sees Aang and Katara leave the ship and realizes the Avatar is alive, and he's heading to the Southern Water Tribe. After their mishap, Aang and Katara return to the village and are met with anger. Sokka blames Aang for endangering the tribe and banishes him. Even Gran agrees. Katara wants to leave with Aang to find a waterbending teacher at the Northern Water Tribe, but when Sokka reminds her about choosing between Aang and her family, Aang decides to leave alone. Saddened, Katara stays behind while Aang and Appa head for the Southern Air Temple. Not long after, Aang sees Zuko's Fire Nation ship heading toward the village. Realizing the danger, he rushes back to help. Sokka prepares for battle, painting his face and gathering the kids. Zuko arrives, knocks Sokka aside easily, and demands to know where the Avatar is, thinking he's an old man. He even threatens Gran. Just then, Aang shows up and uses Airbending to stop Zuko. Everyone is shocked to learn Aang is the Avatar. After a brief fight, Aang agrees to surrender to protect the village. Katara and Sokka later decide to rescue Aang. They prepare a canoe, but Gran offers sleeping bags and gives her blessing. She believes their destinies are now tied to Aang. Just then, Appa appears. They hop on, and with the phrase, "Yip yip," Appa takes off into the sky. On Zuko's ship, Aang tricks two guards and escapes his cell. He eventually finds his staff, a helping tool for gliding, but Zuko ambushes him. They fight and Aang escapes again, but Zuko chases after. Just as Aang tries to fly away, Zuko grabs him. Both fall and they prepare for another fight. Suddenly, Katara and Sokka arrive on Appa, but too late. Zuko has knocked Aang unconscious into the sea. Moments pass, and a giant water spiral rises. Aang has entered into the Avatar state. Zuko and his soldiers are powerless and can only watch with amazement. Katara and Sokka help the exhausted Aang. Sokka knocks Zuko overboard, and Katara freezes attacking soldiers. They escape on Appa. Zuko and Iroh try to shoot them down, but Aang deflects the fire, causing an avalanche that buries the ship's front. Later, Katara asks Aang how he bent water so strongly. He doesn't know. When she asks why he lied about being the Avatar, he admits he never wanted to be. But together, they decide to travel to the Northern Water Tribe, and Aang excitedly suggests a few stops along the way. Aang, Katara, and Sokka pack up their campsite as Aang excitedly talks about returning to the Southern Air Temple, his former home. Sokka, refusing to get up, is tricked by Aang into thinking there's a prickle snake in his sleeping bag, only to realize he was fooled. Meanwhile, Prince Zuko docks at a Fire Nation-controlled harbor for repairs. Commander Zhao welcomes them, having been recently promoted. Zuko lies about their ship damage, claiming it came from an Earth Kingdom fight. Zhao is suspicious, but pretends to believe it and invites them for tea. As Appa flies over the Patola mountain range, Katara tries to prepare Aang for the truth, that the Fire Nation may have wiped out the air nomads. Aang refuses to believe it, certain no firebender could have reached the temple without a flying bison. While having tea in the harbor, Zhao questions Zuko about the Avatar. A soldier reveals the truth. Zuko had the Avatar but let him escape. Zhao mocks Zuko, leaving him angry. At the Air Temple, Aang begins a tour for his friends, but with no airbenders in sight, he grows quiet. Sokka plays airball with him to cheer him up. During the game, Sokka finds a Fire Nation helmet. Katara hides it under the snow to protect Aang from the truth. Aang shows them a statue of Monk Gyatso, his mentor. In a flashback, Gyatso teaches Aang to make fruit pies and reassures him about being the Avatar. Aang remembers Gyatso's words about someone in the sanctuary who would guide him. Aang opens the sanctuary with airbending and finds hundreds of statues, past avatars. Katara realizes they are Aang's past lives. Aang recognizes Avatar Roku. Suddenly, a lemur appears. Aang wants it as a pet. Sokka wants it as food. They chase it through the temple. Meanwhile, Zhao declares he will hunt the Avatar himself. Zuko challenges him to an Agni Kai. Zuko wins but spares Zhao. When Zhao attacks him from behind, Iroh stops the blast and reminds Zhao of his dishonor. Back at the temple, Aang finds Monk Gyatso's skeleton among Fire Nation corpses. Heartbroken, Aang enters the Avatar state. The goosebumps. Katara and Sokka calm Aang down. He accepts that the air nomads are gone, and he is the last airbender. Later, the lemur brings fruit to Sokka and joins the group. Aang names him Momo. As night falls, the team flies off on Appa. Aang takes one last look at his lost home, now hidden in clouds. Zuko's ship drifts at sea. While meditating, Zuko is interrupted by Iroh, who says there's new information on the Avatar's location. Zuko loses his temper, even though he claimed he could stay calm. Iroh shows him a map of multiple sightings, saying Aang is hard to track. Meanwhile, Aang, Katara, and Sokka fly over the ocean. Aang tries to impress Katara with an airbending trick, but she's focused on sewing Sokka's pants. Sokka makes a sexist comment, and Katara angrily throws the pants back at him. They land on a nearby island to take a break. Aang jumps into the water to ride a giant fish called an elephant koi, but is attacked by a much larger creature, the Unagi. He flees in fear. Suddenly, a group of warriors ambush the group and tie them up. The attackers are revealed to be girls, Kyoshi warriors. Sokka is shocked they were defeated by women and makes another sexist remark. Katara apologizes for him. The village leader, Oyaji, suspects them of being Fire Nation spies. Aang reveals he's the Avatar and proves it by airbending out of his ropes. The villagers are amazed and quickly change their attitude. Word of the Avatar's presence reaches Zuko, who immediately heads to Kyoshi Island. Aang enjoys the attention, while Sokka sulks. Sokka sees the Kyoshi warriors training and challenges them, but is quickly beaten. Embarrassed, he later returns to Suki, the leader, and asks to be trained. He apologizes for behavior and agrees to wear their uniform. Suki trains him in their fighting style. Meanwhile, Katara is annoyed with Aang for showing off to the girls. They argue. Aang tries to prove himself by riding the Unagi again, but gets knocked out. Katara rescues him with waterbending and hides just as Fire Nation troops arrive. She revives Aang and warns the others. Zuko and his men attack the village. The Kyoshi warriors fight back. Aang battles Zuko briefly, but the town takes heavy damage. Seeing the destruction, Aang decides to flee so the Fire Nation will stop targeting the village. Sokka says goodbye to Suki, who kisses him on the cheek. As the group escapes on Appa, Aang jumps back down into the bay, rides the Unagi, and uses its water blast to put out the fires. He rejoins his friends, and they fly off into the sunset. After traveling several days, Aang, Katara, and Sokka arrive in the Earth Kingdom city of Omashu. Aang, eager to explore, disguises himself with Appa's fur to hide his identity as the Avatar. At the city gates, he uses an old man persona named Bonzu Pippin Padalopsi Kopolis III to gain entry, claiming Sokka and Katara as his grandchildren. Despite suspicion, the guards let them through. Inside, Aang shows the others the city's delivery chute system, once used for fun with his childhood friend Bumi. They ride the system for old time's sake, but their cart goes out of control, crashing into a cabbage merchant's cart. Guards arrest them for destruction and deception. Before the king of Omashu, instead of punishment, they're invited to a feast. There, Aang accidentally airbends when a drumstick is thrown at him, exposing his identity. The king detains them and declares Aang must complete 3 deadly challenges to win their freedom. The next day, Katara and Sokka are missing. The king shows them trapped in genomite, creeping crystal that will eventually encase them entirely. Aang agrees to the challenges. Challenge 1. Retrieve a key from behind a waterfall. Unable to reach it directly, Aang bends a rock to break the chain and free the key. Challenge 2. Find the king's lost pet, Flopsy. Mistaking a rabbit for the pet, Aang is chased by a massive beast, which turns out to be the real Flopsy. Recognizing Aang, Flopsy affectionately returns to the king. Challenge 3. Choose an opponent for a duel. Aang chooses the king himself, who reveals surprising strength and skill as one of the best Earthbenders. After a fierce fight, Aang outsmarts him with a redirected boulder. To free his friends, Aang must now guess the king's name. Realizing the challenges all required thinking differently, Aang deduces the king is Bumi, his old friend from a century ago. Bumi confirms and shatters the genomite, revealing it was rock candy. Bumi explains he tested Aang to ensure he's ready to face the world's changes and defeat Fire Lord Ozai. He encourages Aang to always think like a mad genius. In the end, Aang and Bumi ride the chute system once again. In the spirit world, Aang meets Avatar Roku's dragon, Fang, who carries him to a crescent-shaped island. At Roku's temple, Aang learns that Roku must speak to him about a comet, but the only time they can meet is during the winter solstice, tomorrow at sunset. On the morning of the solstice, Aang prepares to fly to Roku's temple alone, not wanting to endanger Katara or Sokka. Appa resists flying until Katara and Sokka insist on going with him. The village leader urges them to leave quickly, and they depart. Shortly after, Zuko arrives, demanding to know where the Avatar went. From the sky, Katara spots Zuko's ship tailing them. Iroh warns Zuko about entering Fire Nation waters, but Zuko is determined. As Zuko's catapult fires at Appa, a Fire Nation blockade led by Commander Zhao appears ahead. Despite Iroh's warning, Zuko orders his ship to charge the blockade. Zhao identifies both Appa and Zuko's ship and orders his ships to fire on both. Zuko's ship is hit, but he continues forward. Aang dodges heavy fire and saves Sokka mid-air, then fearlessly destroys a fireball with airbending as they break through the blockade. Zhao allows Zuko to pass, realizing he can follow him to the Avatar. Appa flies for hours until they reach Roku's temple at sunset. Inside, they're ambushed by fire sages who claim loyalty to the Avatar, but attack. One sage, Shiyu, helps them escape. He explains the sages once served the Avatar, but after Roku's death, they waited for the next Avatar. When he never showed up, they were forced to serve the Fire Lord. Only Shiyu remained loyal. At a sealed chamber, requiring 5 firebenders or a fully realized Avatar to open, Sokka devises a fake explosion to trick the other sages into opening the door. Momo creates a false shadow, and the sages open the door only to be ambushed. A hidden Zuko restrains Aang, but Aang escapes and leaps through the closing door into Roku's chamber. Inside, Aang meets Avatar Roku, who reveals the comet Aang saw once amplified Firebender's power and allowed Fire Lord Sozin to begin the 100-Year War. The comet will return by summer's end, and Fire Lord Ozai will use it to conquer the world. Aang must master all 4 elements before then. Roku warns danger is coming and offers his help if Aang is ready. Aang accepts. As the door opens, Zhao's men prepare to attack, but freeze in utter fear when they see Avatar Roku. Bursting out in a glowing form, causes the volcanoes to erupt, destroying the temple. The group escapes on Appa just before the collapse. Zhao captures all 5 sages, blaming them equally. Zuko escapes. Katara and Sokka comfort a drained Aang, who now understands his mission's urgency. While searching for Momo, who was trapped by a Fire Nation snare, Aang, Katara, and Sokka discover a Fire Nation campsite. Sokka insists they continue on foot to avoid being spotted. During an argument about leadership, a group of children led by a teen named Jet ambush the soldiers and defeat them. Jet introduces his group as the Freedom Fighters. Katara becomes smitten with Jet, while Sokka grows suspicious. At their tree hideout, Jet explains they fight the Fire Nation to free the nearby occupied Earth Kingdom village of Gaipan. Katara sympathizes after Jet shares that his parents were killed by the Fire Nation. That night, Jet invites Sokka on a mission. The next morning, Sokka witnesses Jet ambush an old Fire Nation civilian. Despite the man's pleas, Jet roughs him up, justifying it by claiming he's a threat. Sokka objects, but Jet finds a poisoned knife on the man, convincing Katara and Aang of his guilt. Jet later tells Katara and Aang that the Fire Nation planned to burn down the forest and asks for their help in filling a reservoir to stop it. They agree. That night, Sokka overhears Jet and his team plotting to destroy a dam to flood the village, sacrificing everyone, including civilians, to drive out the Fire Nation. Captured before he can warn Aang and Katara, Sokka tricks Jet's guards into running into traps and escapes. Meanwhile, Aang and Katara unknowingly assist Jet by waterbending to fill the reservoir. Jet lies that Sokka already apologized and is helping elsewhere. Once the river is full, Aang and Katara go to the dam and realize Jet's true plan. Jet attacks and delays Aang, while Katara, heartbroken by his betrayal, fights Jet and freezes him to a tree. Jet signals his team to ignite the blasting jelly. Aang's glider is too damaged to help. Just then, Sokka arrives with Appa, revealing he warned the villagers in time, thanks to help from the old man Jet attacked. The town was evacuated safely. Jet is furious, calling Sokka a traitor. The group leaves Jet behind, frozen to the tree. Aang and Katara apologize to Sokka for not trusting him. Aang dreams of flying peacefully with Katara and Sokka, but the dream turns into a nightmare. Katara and Monk Gyatso's voices cry out, "We need you, Aang," as the sky darkens. Gyatso blames Aang for disappearing, then turns to dust. Aang wakes up in a panic. He doesn't explain the nightmare to his friends. The next morning, the group runs out of food and heads to a harbor market. Sokka jokes about a dream where food eats people, suggesting they avoid the market. Meanwhile, Iroh warns of a coming storm, but Zuko dismisses it, insisting the Avatar is the only priority. On the ship, Zuko clashes with Lieutenant G, prompting Iroh to calm tensions. At the harbor, Aang and Katara fail to buy food due to lack of money. They meet a bickering old couple. The husband seeks help to fish in the storm. Sokka volunteers for double pay, but the fisherman denies making the offer. When he recognizes Aang as the Avatar, he blames him for abandoning the world. Hurt, Aang flies away, and Katara follows. Aang hides in a cave, where Katara urges him to share his past. He recounts how he was told he was the Avatar at a young age and how things changed afterward. Other kids treated him differently, and the monks planned to send him away for training, separating him from Gyatso. Overwhelmed, Aang ran away during a storm and ended up frozen in an iceberg. He blames himself for not being there when the Fire Nation attacked the air nomads. Iroh tells Zuko's crew the true story behind Zuko's banishment. As a boy, Zuko spoke out against the general's plan, disrespecting him in the Fire Lord's war room. As a punishment, Ozai challenged his own son to an Agni Kai and scarred him when he refused to fight. Iroh explains Zuko's obsession with capturing the Avatar as a way to restore his honor. A storm hits. The fisherman's wife begs for help, and Aang sets out to rescue Sokka and the fisherman, joined by Katara. Zuko also saves his crew during the storm. Aang rescues Sokka and the fisherman with airbending and waterbending and escapes the sea by forming an air pocket. Zuko sees Aang but lets him go. Afterward, the fisherman thanks Aang, and Aang tells Katara he's done dwelling on the past. As the storm clears, they look up at the bright sky together. The story begins at Po Huai's stronghold, where Commander Zhao argues with Colonel Shinu over using the elite Yuyan archers to hunt the Avatar. Shinu refuses, but Zhao's promotion to Admiral gives him authority to override the decision. Unseen, a masked figure, Blue Spirit, overhears the conversation. Meanwhile, Sokka is sick from the previous storm, and Katara is also falling ill. Aang finds a map to an herbalist on a nearby mountain and sets off alone to seek a cure. Zuko's ship is halted by a larger Fire Nation vessel, delivering orders from Zhao. All Avatar-related information must be reported to him. Zuko is furious, but cannot proceed. Elsewhere, Aang speeds through the forest, alerting Fire Nation scouts. At the Herbalist Mountain, Aang meets an eccentric healer who eventually sends him to collect frozen wood frogs from the swamp, as their skin provides a cure when kept frozen. As Aang gathers frogs, the Yuyan archers ambush and capture him. He is taken to Po Huai's stronghold, restrained and taunted by Zhao, who reveals he plans to keep Aang barely alive to prevent his reincarnation. Aang tries to resist, but is trapped. Meanwhile, Katara and Sokka grow weaker, and Momo struggles to help. Back at the stronghold, the masked Blue Spirit infiltrates the fortress using stealth and deception. While Zhao addresses his troops, the masked figure defeats the guards and frees Aang. Without speaking, the stranger leads Aang through the sewers and escapes. As Zhao discovers the escape, alarms sound, and the duo is forced to fight their way past guards. Reaching the outer gates, Aang airbends the way clear but realizes the stranger is missing. He returns to help, and together they fend off more guards using airbending and swordplay. When a final jump fails, they crash outside the walls but are surrounded. To escape, the masked figure pretends to hold Aang hostage, forcing Zhao to open the gate. Zhao orders an archer to disable the stranger. As the Blue Spirit collapses, Aang creates a dust cloud and escapes with him. Aang discovers the masked figure is Zuko. Shocked, he leaves Zuko behind after a brief confrontation. Later, Aang reflects that they might have been friends if things were different. Aang returns, heals his friends with the frogs, and rests. Katara and Sokka recover, only to discover with disgust they've been sucking on frogs. Zuko, meanwhile, silently returns to his ship and reflects on the events. While camping by a river, Aang gifts Katara a handmade necklace made using Sokka's fishing line, annoying Sokka. When Katara puts it on, Aang becomes more smitten, though Katara considers him just a friend. Their day is interrupted by a platypus bear attacking a calm old woman who refuses to panic because Aunt Wu, a local fortune-teller, predicted he'd have a safe journey. Appa scares off the bear, and the man gives them an umbrella, which proves useful when it starts raining immediately, just as Aunt Wu had predicted. They visit Makapu village, where Aunt Wu is revered. Her assistant, Meng, instantly crushes on Aang. Aunt Wu tells Katara she will experience a great romance with a powerful bender. Aang eavesdrops and is thrilled, thinking it could be him. Sokka receives a vague, grim prediction about self-inflicted pain. During Aang's reading, Aunt Wu predicts he will be part of a major battle deciding the world's fate. When Aang asks about love, she initially says she saw nothing, but then adds that if he follows his heart, he'll be with the one he loves. Sokka remains skeptical of fortune-telling, but the villagers believe in Aunt Wu's every word, especially her claim that the nearby volcano won't erupt. Katara becomes obsessed with getting more predictions, while Aang, desperate to win her heart, attempts a grand gesture, getting a rare panda lily for Katara, but discovers the volcano is active. He and Sokka warn the villagers, but no one listens, relying solely on Aunt Wu's original prediction. To convince them, Aang steals her cloud reading guide. Meng catches him, and realizing his feelings for Katara, gives him the book anyway. Aang and Katara use airbending and waterbending to shape the clouds into a volcanic destruction sign, Aunt Wu, urged by Sokka, reads the clouds again and agrees the village is in danger. Aang organizes the villagers to build a trench to redirect the lava and uses a powerful gust of air to cool and solidify it. The village is saved, and Aunt Wu praises Aang, saying he has the power to shape his own future. As they leave, Sokka tries to prove Aunt Wu wrong, but is reminded that her prediction, that the village wouldn't be destroyed, was actually true. Mang quietly calls Katara a floozy as they fly off. While exploring near a body of water, Aang finds a water tribe weapon, prompting the group to investigate further. They discover signs of a battle between water tribe warriors and firebenders, eventually finding a boat that once belonged to Sokka and Katara's father, Hakoda. Meanwhile, on Zuko's ship, a bounty hunter named June arrives searching for a fugitive. Her Shirsu, the scent-tracking beast, finds the stowaway. Impressed, Zuko hires June to help track Aang using Katara's necklace. Later, Team Avatar reunites with Bato, a close friend of Hakoda. He brings them to an abbey where he's recovering. Katara and Sokka joyfully reconnect with their culture, unintentionally leaving Aang feeling excluded. A messenger soon arrives with a map to Hakoda's location, but Aang, afraid of being abandoned, hides it. Meanwhile, June joins Zuko and Iroh on their search, and they follow Aang's trail across various locations. Back at the abbey, Bato takes Aang, Katara, and Sokka on a coming-of-age ritual called ice dodging, adapted using sharp rocks instead of ice. The group succeeds, and Bato marks them for wisdom, bravery, and trust. Aang confesses he hid the map and returns it. Hurt by his actions, Sokka and Katara leave to find their father. Soon after, Zuko and June arrive at the abbey. The Shirsu paralyzes Katara and Sokka and retrieves the map. Zuko follows it back to the abbey to confront Aang. Aang puts up a fight, dodging Zuko's attacks and battling the Shirsu. Katara's necklace, which Zuko had kept, is recovered by Aang during the fight. Though Aang joins the battle, the Shirsu paralyzes him. With Aang cornered, Sokka devises a plan using the abbey's perfume supplies. Katara waterbends the perfume into a heavy mist, overwhelming the Shirsu's scent-based tracking. Confused and panicked, the creature accidentally paralyzes both Zuko and June. Team Avatar escapes. Flying away, Aang asks what Sokka and Katara plan to do. They assure him they are heading to the North Pole together, and that he's part of their family now. Aang returns Katara's necklace, joking that Zuko asked him to. Katara kisses Aang on the cheek, making him blush as they fly off into the sunset. While traveling through the northwestern Earth Kingdom, Aang and his friends attend a Fire Nation Fire Days festival. Although in disguise to avoid being recognized, they enjoy the festivities. However, the team is disturbed by a puppet show glorifying Fire Lord Ozai and a firebending performance where Katara is placed in danger. Aang leaps in to save her using airbending, revealing himself as the Avatar. Fire Nation soldiers give chase, but the group escapes with the help of a man named Che, who takes them to meet his master, Zhang, a firebending master who defected from the Fire Nation. At Zhang's forest camp, Aang begs to be taught firebending, but the master refuses, insisting Aang is not ready. Zhang explains that fire is dangerous without control and must only be learned after mastering water and earth. Suddenly, Avatar Roku appears in a vision and commands Zhang to train Aang, which he reluctantly agrees to. Training begins slowly, with breathing and discipline exercises. Aang grows impatient and demands more advanced training. Zhang warns that fire's destructive power requires restraint and mentions a former student who lacked discipline. Aang apologizes and resumes training, but when left alone, he plays with fire and accidentally burns Katara. Furious, Sokka blames Zhang, who agrees and tells them to leave. Katara discovers that her hands heal when placed in water. Zhang reveals she has water healing abilities, a rare waterbending trait he wishes he had, as fire can only destroy. Meanwhile, Admiral Zhao arrives, having tracked Aang, and attacks the camp. Zhang confronts his former student briefly, then disappears into the woods with his followers. Aang, guilt-ridden, hides in Zhang's hut, vowing to never firebend again. Katara's healing restores his confidence. Aang confronts Zhao, who recklessly destroys his own ships in his anger. Aang escapes using agility and wit, applying Zhongjong's teachings on control. As Team Avatar flies off on Appa, they reflect on the dangers of firebending. Katara uses her new healing powers to treat Aang's burn from the Zhao fight. Sokka, realizing Katara had healing powers all along, complains humorously about all the past injuries she didn't help him with. Team Avatar gathers around a campfire where a man tells a story about airwalkers, people who defy gravity. They assume it's an ancient tale about airbenders, but the storyteller reveals his great-grandfather saw them just a week ago. Surprised, Aang and the group head to the Northern Air Temple. There, they find people flying with gliders, but quickly realize they're not true airbenders. A boy named Teo impresses them with his flying skills, and they learn his father, a mechanist, has converted the ancient temple into a technological hub powered by hot air. While Sokka admires the innovation, Aang is disturbed by how the sacred temple and airbender history have been altered. Tensions rise when the mechanists destroy a sacred statue, prompting Aang to use airbending in anger. The mechanist explains he took refuge in the temple after a flood devastated his village and crippled Teo. Inspired by airbender murals, he built gliders to help his son fly and claims he's improving upon the past. Aang argues that nature knows where to stop. Teo later shows Aang the untouched temple sanctuary and asks him to open it. Aang refuses at first, wanting to preserve the last unaltered part of his culture. After a glider ride with Katara, he reconsiders and opens the door, only to discover Fire Nation weapons inside, including tanks and a hot air balloon. Aang and Teo confront the mechanist, who reveals he struck a deal with War Minister Chin to supply weapons in exchange for the villagers' safety. When Chin returns for more weapons, Aang reveals himself and ends the agreement. Chin threatens to destroy the temple and leaves. Despite the risk, Aang believes the villagers can defend the temple from the sky. The mechanist joins the defense, and he and Sokka finalize the war balloon, complete with slime, smoke, fire, and stink bombs. Fire Nation tanks begin climbing the cliffs, but Aang and the others launch a counterattack. Though the tanks initially recover from the damage, Appa helps turn the tide. The war balloon bombards the enemy, but when ammo runs out, Sokka and the mechanist ignite a methane gas pocket using the balloon's engine, causing a massive explosion that defeats the army. They're rescued by Aang, and the villagers celebrate victory. Aang, now at peace with the temple's transformation, encourages the villagers to protect it. Meanwhile, Chin finds the fallen war balloon, seeing it as a tool for future conquest. As Team Avatar flies north on Appa, tensions rise due to exhaustion. Suddenly, a group of waterbenders appear, capturing them, but it turns out to be the welcoming party from the Northern Water Tribe. Escorted into the grand icy city of Agnikala, they are welcomed by Chief Arnuk and his daughter Princess Yue. Sokka is instantly smitten with Yue, awkwardly trying to impress her during a feast. Meanwhile, Aang meets Master Pakku, who agrees to train him in waterbending. At the feast, Pakku showcases advanced waterbending techniques, exciting Katara, who looks forward to finally learning from a master. However, when she arrives at training, Pakku denies her as a student, citing a northern tradition that women can only learn healing. Katara is devastated, and Aang refuses to learn without her, but Katara urges him to continue. Meanwhile, Sokka meets Yue again and arranges to see her later. As Aang trains, Katara reluctantly attends healing lessons. There, her instructor Yagoda notices Katara's necklace and reveals it was carved by Katara's grandmother's fiancé, uncovering that her grandmother Kana was from the northern tribe, but left to escape an arranged marriage. Meanwhile, Admiral Zhao gains command of Zuko's crew and secretly hires pirates to assassinate Zuko. The pirates bomb Zuko's ship, but he survives. Iroh helps Zuko fake his death and sneak aboard Zhao's fleet in disguise to reach the North Pole and find the Avatar first. Later, Aang teaches Katara waterbending at night. When Pakku discovers this, he becomes furious and refuses to continue training Aang. Katara confronts Chief Arnuk, who suggests she apologize, but instead, she challenges Paku to a duel. During their intense battle, Katara impresses everyone, demonstrating powerful techniques despite lacking formal training. Though Paku wins, he discovers her necklace, the same one he carved for Kana decades ago. Realizing Katara is Kana's granddaughter, and reflecting on Kana's rejection of sexist customs, Paku has a change of heart. Meanwhile, Yue tearfully tells Sokka they cannot be together and reveals she is already engaged. Despite sharing a kiss, she leaves him heartbroken. The next morning, Katara joins Aang and Paku for training. He has accepted her as a student. Elsewhere, Zhao's massive invasion fleet sails toward the Northern Water Tribe, ready for war. As the Northern Water Tribe braces for war, Katara impresses Master Paku with her rapid waterbending progress, defeating a fellow student. Paku praises her hard work and mocks Aang for goofing off. Meanwhile, Sokka spends time with Princess Yue. Though she's engaged, she joins him for a ride on Appa, where their growing affection is interrupted by falling gray snow, soot from approaching Fire Nation ships. Sokka realizes an invasion is imminent. Admiral Zhao prepares a massive assault, intent on wiping out the last Water Tribe stronghold. Despite Iroh warnings, Zhao continues undeterred. In Agnikala, Chief Arnuk alerts the citizens and calls for volunteers. Sokka joins the mission, despite Yue's emotional plea and Katara's objections. Later, Chief Arnuk assigns the team to infiltrate the Fire Nation fleet disguised as soldiers, led by Yue's fiancé Han, much to Sokka's dismay. As Aang promises to protect the tribe, the first fireball hits the city. Aang launches a solo counterattack, disabling a few ships, but is overwhelmed by the sheer size of the fleet. Back on the Fire Nation ship, Zuko, alive after surviving an assassination attempt, secretly plans to capture Aang. After Han insults Sokka, the two brawl, and Sokka is removed from the mission. Chief Arnuk later reveals that Sokka's true role is to protect Yue. Meanwhile, Zuko dives under the ice to infiltrate Agnikala through the water tunnels. Yue leads Aang and Katara to the Spirit Oasis, a tranquil garden with koi fish symbolizing yin and yang. Aang begins meditating, hoping to contact the spirits. As he succeeds and enters the spirit world, Zuko arrives and a duel breaks out. Katara initially defeats him, but as the sun rises, Zuko regains strength and overpowers her, knocking her unconscious and capturing Aang's body. As Zhao pauses the attack until morning, Zuko escapes across the frozen tundra, carrying Aang. Katara wakes and tells Sokka and Yue about Zuko's actions. They take off on Appa to pursue him. As the Fire Nation continues its siege on the Northern Water Tribe, Sokka, Katara, and Princess Yue search for Aang. Meanwhile, Zuko carries Aang's unconscious body across the tundra during a blizzard, hiding in a cave. In the spirit world, a baboon spirit dismisses him, but Avatar Roku appears and guides Aang to the dangerous spirit Ko, warning him not to show emotion or risk losing his face. Zuko reflects bitterly on his struggles and family, especially his father's favoritism toward his sister. In the Fire Nation fleet, Zhao reveals to Iroh his plan to kill the moon spirit, having learned its mortal form from a secret library. Iroh warns him against such actions, but Zhao arrogantly proceeds. Meanwhile, Aang meets Ko and learns the moon and ocean spirit's mortal forms are the koi fish, Tui and La, in the Spirit Oasis. Katara and the others eventually find Zuko and Aang. Katara defeats Zuko easily, and Aang's spirit returns to his body. Despite Zuko's earlier actions, Aang refuses to leave him behind to freeze and brings him along. They arrive at the Spirit Oasis just as Zhao captures the white koi Tui and kills it, turning the moon blood red and stripping the waterbenders of their abilities. Yue reveals the moon spirit once gave her life, connecting her deeply to Tui. Iroh, furious over the moon's death, attacks Zhao's men. Aang, enraged, enters the Avatar state and merges with the ocean spirit La. Together, they take the form of a massive spirit koi and wipe out the invading Fire Nation army. Meanwhile, Yue sacrifices herself to revive the moon spirit, restoring balance and the moon to the sky. Her spirit appears briefly to say goodbye to Sokka, before vanishing. Zhao tries to escape but is intercepted by Zuko. When the ocean spirit attacks, Zuko offers to save Zhao, but the admiral loses his grip and is taken by the spirit. With peace restored, Pakku appoints Katara as Aang's new waterbending master. Yue's father shares a vision of her destiny with Sokka, both proud and heartbroken. Later, Fire Lord Ozai entrusts Azula, Zuko's sister, with a secret mission to deal with Iroh and Zuko's failures, as she looks up with a confident smirk, signaling a new threat to come. Aang and his friends rest at an Earth Kingdom outpost after their journey from the North Pole. They are to be escorted to Omashu, where Aang intends to find King Bumi to teach him earthbending. General Fong, however, inspired by Aang's battle-determining actions during the Siege of the North, suggests that Aang defeat the Fire Lord and end the war immediately by triggering the Avatar state. After many failed attempts, the general finally succeeds in triggering the Avatar state by faking Katara's death. Aang nearly destroys the base in anger, and the group decides to go to Omashu alone. In the meantime, Zuko and his uncle are visited by his sister Azula, who has come bearing a message from the Fire Lord requesting they return home. Zuko and his uncle discover Azula's summons to be a disguise in order to imprison the pair and escape. While training in waterbending, Aang, Katara, and Sokka meet a group of carefree nomads led by Chong, who suggests a shortcut to Omashu through the Cave of Two Lovers. Sokka is skeptical but agrees after Fire Nation soldiers block their route. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh struggle to survive in exile, nearly poisoning themselves with wild plants before finding shelter with a kind Earth Kingdom girl named Song. Inside the tunnels, Team Avatar learns that only those who trust in love can find the way out. A cave-in separates the group, Aang and Katara with Appa and Sokka with the nomads. As they search for an exit, Aang and Katara discover the tomb of the two lovers, Oma and Shu, whose love ended a war and founded Omashu. In darkness, Aang and Katara share a quiet kiss that reveals glowing crystals leading them to safety. Sokka and the nomads escape by soothing badger moles with music. Despite the kindness from Song, the Earth Kingdom girl, Zuko steals her ostrich horse, much to the great annoyance of his uncle. Reunited, Team Avatar finally emerges from the labyrinth and thanks the nomads for their help, but their joy fades when they reach Omashu, only to find the once great Earth Kingdom city has fallen to the Fire Nation. Determined to rescue King Bumi after Omashu's capture, Aang, Katara, and Sokka secretly enter the Fire Nation-controlled city through the sewers. When Fire Nation soldiers confront them, Katara cleverly fakes an outbreak of a deadly pentapox disease, scaring the guards away. Meanwhile, Princess Azula, advised to travel discreetly, begins assembling an elite team, first recruiting her acrobatic friend Ty Lee by intimidating her during a circus performance. In Omashu, Aang and his friends join the Earth Kingdom resistance, helping the townspeople escape under the guise of a pentapox epidemic. During the chaos, Aang searches for Bumi, but finds only his pet Flopsy. The group accidentally ends up with the governor's missing infant son Tom Tom, and agree to exchange him for Bumi's release. However, Azula, now allied with Mai, who eagerly joins her, intervenes and betrays them. A fierce battle erupts between Team Avatar and Azula's new trio. Aang eventually frees Bumi from his metal coffin, but Bumi reveals he surrendered willingly, practicing neutral Jing, waiting for the right moment to strike. He advises Aang to find an earthbending master who waits and listens before leaving. As Azula declares her new targets as Zuko, Iroh, and the Avatar, Aang quietly returns Tom Tom to his parents and disappears into the night. While flying, Aang and friends are attracted to a mysterious swamp and get separated from one another. They begin to see unique illusions in the swamp. Sokka sees Princess Yue, Katara sees her dead mother, and Aang sees a mysterious giggling girl. They are reunited and attacked by a swamp monster, who turns out to be a wise man from a tribe of riverbenders, an affinity of waterbending. The swamp bender reveals his name as Hu and explains he attacked to protect the swamp. He leads Aang, Katara, and Sokka to a massive tree, the swamp's heart, where he gained realization. Hu explains that all life is connected, and time and death are illusions. The swamp shows visions of loved ones to reveal their spiritual presence. Aang realizes the mysterious girl he saw is someone he will meet in the future. When Aang senses Appa and Momo in danger, they rush to help, only to discover the swamp benders, including Hu, are peaceful waterbenders like them. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh are forced to live life as commoners. Disguised, Zuko resorts to using his blue spirit guise to help himself. Aang and his friends stumble upon a town celebrating an anti-Avatar day. The villagers blame the Avatar for killing their leader, Chin the Great, in a past life, and Aang is arrested and put on trial for his crimes. Sokka and Katara try to find clues and evidence to clear Aang and his past life Avatar Kyoshi. Until then, he is put behind bars. When Colonel Monkey and Rough Rhinos attack the village, townsmen offer Aang unconditional pardon if he defeats them. With the use of quick wit, Team Avatar was able to defeat the Rough Rhinos and save its people. The town consequently changes the anti-Avatar celebration into a pro-Avatar celebration. Meanwhile, Zuko had disguised himself as the Blue Spirit to steal food for him and his uncle. Iroh is not happy with what Zuko is doing, and Zuko decides to leave him. In Gaoling, Sokka's indecisiveness over buying a bag annoys Aang and Katara, who soon discover a local Earthbending academy run by Master Yu. After a disappointing lesson, they learn of an underground Earthbending tournament called Earth Rumble 6. There, they witness a blind girl, known as the Blind Bandit, easily defeat all challengers, impressing Aang, who recognizes her as the girl from his vision. When Aang accidentally beats her using airbending, she storms off. Later, the trio discovers the Blind Bandit is Toph Beifong, daughter of a wealthy family who treats her as fragile due to her blindness. Despite her parents' ignorance, Toph reveals to Aang that she sees through vibrations in the earth and secretly trains as a powerful fighter. When she and Aang are captured by the tournament host Shin Fu, Toph defeats all the Earthbenders in an incredible display of skill. Her father, however, misinterprets this as recklessness and confines her further. Refusing to live caged, Toph runs away to join Aang as his earthbending teacher. Meanwhile, her father hires Master Yu and Shin Fu to bring her back, believing the Avatar has kidnapped her. As Team Avatar flies away, Toph smiles, finally free to be herself and embrace her true strength. After deciding he would be better off on his own and leaving his uncle, Zuko continues to journey alone and ends up in an Earth Kingdom town. A young boy named Lee brings him home for dinner and subsequently bonds with the banished prince. Zuko helps defend the family from rogue Earth Kingdom soldiers who terrorize the town and have flashbacks of his youth when his mother was still around. Zuko's identity as the banished Fire Nation prince is revealed when he firebends, and the boy and his family reject him because of it. Team Avatar is chased by a mysterious machine, which makes it impossible for the group to stop and sleep. The lack of sleep makes everyone irritable and causes a quarrel between Katara and Toph. Aang acts as a decoy to lure the followers away, but he is finally cornered by Azula in an abandoned Earth Kingdom town. Meanwhile, Toph shares tea with Iroh, who advises her to accept help from those who care, revealing his nephew Zuko is a little lost. Back at the town, Aang's friends, plus Zuko and his uncle, arrive to take Azula down together. Surrounded, Azula pretends to surrender but treacherously blasts Iroh, gravely wounding him. Enraged, Zuko and the others attack, but Azula escapes in the explosion. Distraught, Zuko orders the group to leave Iroh. That night, the weary team rests in the mountains, burdened by their loss. Aang is thrilled to begin earthbending training with Toph, but quickly learns it's not like air or water. Toph teaches that earthbending requires stubbornness, confidence, and standing your ground and being like a rock. Aang struggles because his natural instinct is to avoid and evade, not face force head-on. Katara suggests gentle encouragement, but Toph encourages Aang by yelling at him and putting him through brutal drills. Carrying boulders, punching rocks, and balancing on stone pillars, demanding he be more rock-like. Despite initial struggles, Aang gradually improves and succeeds in his training. Meanwhile, Sokka goes hunting, falls into a crack in the ground, and gets stuck up to his neck, where he spends most of the day arguing with a baby saber-toothed moose lion. Elsewhere, Iroh trains Zuko. First, he explains lightning generation, which requires calm separation of yin and yang, something Zuko can't yet achieve. Then Iroh teaches his original technique, redirecting lightning, inspired by waterbending. He also urges Zuko to let go of shame and learn from all nations. Zuko, desperate to prove himself, later storms into the wilderness and dares the sky to strike him. Back at the quarry, Aang panics when a huge boulder is rolled at him, but after Toph lets Sokka get nearly mauled, Aang finally plants his feet, refuses to move, and earthbends. He frees Sokka, earning Toph's respect and the title of true Earthbender. While exploring the vast desert, Aang, Katara, Sokka, and Toph meet Professor Zay, who tells them about a mysterious library hidden beneath the sands, home to the knowledge spirit Wang Shitong. Hoping to find information to defeat the Fire Nation, they journey across the desert on Appa and eventually discover the half-buried library. Inside, the owl spirit allows them entry after they each offer a piece of knowledge. While exploring, Sokka uncovers records of the Fire Nation's darkest day, leading them to a planetarium that reveals an upcoming solar eclipse, a moment when firebenders will lose their power. However, Wang Shitong realizes their true intentions and angrily begins sinking the library. Outside, Toph desperately holds the structure up using her earthbending, but struggles as sandbenders arrive to steal Appa. Torn between saving her friends or the bison, she is forced to let Appa be taken.
I'm sorry, Appa.
Inside, Sokka and Aang manage to confirm the date of the eclipse before escaping with Katara. The library disappears into the sand along with the professor, who refuses to leave. As the group emerges, triumphant yet heartbroken, they realize their victory has come at a heavy cost. Appa is gone, and Aang stands devastated, silently weeping. Stranded in the vast Siwang desert after Appa's capture, Team Avatar struggles to survive. Aang, furious and grief-stricken, lashes out at Toph for letting the Sandbenders escape, while Katara takes charge and tries to keep everyone moving toward Ba Sing Se. Sokka, delirious from drinking cactus juice, provides comic relief as they trek through the scorching sands. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh encounter the rough rhinos but escape and later seek refuge with Iroh's secret allies, the Order of the White Lotus. Aang searches tirelessly for Appa, creating a massive sandstorm in frustration. The group eventually finds a sand sailor and uses it to navigate toward a rocky outcrop, the desert's magnetic center. There, they stumble into a buzzard wasp nest, and during the chaotic attack, Aang's rage deepens. When sandbenders arrive, Toph identifies one as Appa's captor. Enraged, Aang destroys their sand sailors and, upon learning that Appa was sold in Ba Sing Se, loses control and enters the Avatar state, unleashing a massive sandstorm. Terrified, the sandbenders flee. Only Katara dares to approach him, holding him tightly until his fury subsides. The sandstorm clears, and Aang collapses in tears in her arms, broken by the loss of his loyal companion.
I'm sorry! I didn't know it belonged to the Avatar!
Tell me where Appa is!
The group rests near a waterfall while planning their route to Ba Sing Se. After damaging their maps, Katara dries them using waterbending, and the group decides to take the Serpent's Pass, a dangerous shortcut. They meet Earth Kingdom refugees, including a pregnant woman named Ying, who persuades them instead to take the ferry at Full Moon Bay. There, they reunite with Suki, now a Kyoshi warrior guard, and learn that the refugees' tickets have been stolen. Toph plays her trump card, showing Ticketing Lady her Beifong insignia, which allows Team Avatar free pass, yet not any outsiders. Refusing to abandon them, Aang decides to guide everyone through the perilous Serpent's Pass. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh travel on the ferry with Jet and his freedom fighters. Jet befriends Zuko, seeing him as a fellow outcast, while Iroh hints that everyone deserves a second chance. During the treacherous crossing, the group faces a Fire Nation attack and the monstrous Serpent itself. Aang and Katara work together to subdue it, while Suki saves Toph from drowning. After reaching safety, Ying gives birth to a baby girl named Hope, restoring Aang's optimism. Realizing he must face his feelings, Aang embraces Katara before setting off to find Appa. Upon reaching Ba Sing Se's wall, he's stunned to discover a massive Fire Nation drill approaching the city. The Fire Nation begins its massive assault on Ba Sing Se with a colossal drill designed to pierce the city's impenetrable walls. Inside the machine, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee oversee the operation alongside War Minister Chin, who boasts of its invincibility. Meanwhile, Aang and his friends arrive atop the outer wall and warn General Sung, who arrogantly dismisses the threat.
It's the impenetrable city. They don't call it Na Sing Se. That means penetrable city.
Until his elite Terra team is easily defeated by Mai and Ty Lee. With the general panicking, Sokka devises a plan to destroy the drill from within. Toph burrows beneath the machine, while Aang, Katara, and Sokka infiltrate its metal interior. Using stolen schematics, they realize cutting the inner braces will weaken it. As they work, Azula discovers the sabotage and attacks. Sokka and Katara escape through the slurry pipes, while Aang climbs to the top for a final blow. Despite Azula's relentless pursuit, Aang uses airbending to drive a rock spike into the drill's weakened. Bursting its inner pressure and collapsing it against the wall. The drill destroyed, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee retreat in defeat. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh finally enter Ba Sing Se, disguised as refugees. Unaware, Jet suspects their true identities. The group celebrates their victory, saving the city once again. Aang and the rest of the group arrive in Ba Sing Se to find Appa and inform the Earth King about the solar eclipse, but they are constantly hindered by their tour guide, Judy. They soon learn that any mention of war is forbidden and enforced by the Dai Li, the secret police of Ba Sing Se, and their corrupt leader, Long Fang, who appears to know something about Appa. Elsewhere, Jet repeatedly tries and fails to gather evidence that Zuko and Iroh are firebenders. His last attempt, challenging Zuko to a sword fight, ends in his own arrest. During their time in the city, Katara and Toph enjoy a rare girls' day out at a spa, bonding after bullies mock Toph's appearance. Katara comforts her, admiring her strength and calling her beautiful, ending with playful affection. Iroh's tale follows his compassionate acts, helping townspeople, comforting a crying child, advising a mugger, and finally honoring his late son Lu Ten with a tearful rendition of Leaves from the Vine, dedicated to Iroh's voice actor Mako Iwamatsu.
Brave soldier boy comes marching home.
Aang builds a new zoo after the city's neglect leaves animals suffering, leading to comic chaos before restoring order. Sokka accidentally joins a haiku class, impressing the girls until he breaks the poem's rhythm and is kicked out. Zuko, encouraged by Iroh, goes on a date with Jin, who genuinely likes him. Despite his awkwardness, he ends the night tenderly, lighting lanterns with firebending and sharing a shy kiss before retreating, saying, "It's complicated." Finally, Momo searches for Appa, befriending 3 pygmy pumas, freeing them from captivity, and sleeping in Appa's footprint as rain falls, symbolizing hope, friendship, and longing. Each tale reveals humanity, humor, and heart amid war. After being abducted by sandbenders, Appa is traded to a Fire Nation circus, where he is mistreated by the circus trainer, but he is able to escape with the help of a small boy. He later unwillingly enters a fight with a porcupine, and though he manages to win, he is badly wounded in the process. Suki and the Kyoshi warriors come across Appa and help him recover from his injuries, but they are later attacked by Azula and her team, forcing Appa to flee. He returns to his childhood home at the Eastern Air Temple, where he encounters a mysterious guru. The guru tells Appa to find Aang in Ba Sing Se, but once Appa arrives in Ba Sing Se, Long Feng captures him using a bison whistle similar to Aang's. In Ba Sing Se, Aang and the group search desperately for Appa, creating posters to spread across the city. When Ju Di appears to stop them, Aang angrily defies her, determined to find his friend. Meanwhile, Iroh earns fame for his tea making and is offered his own shop, while Zuko struggles between peace and his desire to capture the Avatar. Out in the city, Jet reappears, claiming he has changed, but his conflicting memories make the group realize he has been brainwashed by the Dai Li. Using Katara's healing, they uncover his memory of Lake Laogai, where the Dai Li secretly control citizens. At the hidden base beneath the lake, Team Avatar discovers the brainwashing facility and confronts Long Feng. During the battle, Long Feng triggers Jet's conditioning, forcing him to attack Aang until he breaks free, only to be mortally wounded protecting them. Meanwhile, Zuko, disguised as the Blue Spirit, finds Appa but is confronted by Iroh, who urges him to choose his own path. Deciding what's right, Zuko sets Appa free. After Long Feng escapes, the group finds Appa gone, but he soon returns, rescuing them from the Dai Li. As they reunite with their beloved bison, Jet's sacrifice lingers heavily, while Zuko quietly abandons his Blue Spirit mask, signaling a change within him. After escaping Lake Laogai, the group debates leaving Ba Sing Se, but Sokka insists on warning the Earth King about the war and the upcoming solar eclipse. They storm the palace, defeat the guards, and confront the Earth King, who is manipulated by Long Feng and unaware of the war. When Aang exposes Long Feng's Appa bite mark, the king reluctantly agrees to investigate. Seeing the destroyed Fire Nation drill convinces him of the truth, and he orders Long Feng's arrest. With the king's trust, Team Avatar secures support for Sokka's invasion plan on the day of Black Sun. Meanwhile, Zuko collapses from fever, undergoing a spiritual transformation after freeing Appa. Iroh tells him he is becoming the man he was meant to be. The group later splits up. Aang and Sokka head to find their father. Katara stays to help the Earth King, and Toph goes to meet her mother. Before leaving, Aang receives a kiss from Katara. However, danger looms. The imprisoned Long Feng still commands loyalty from Dai Li. Toph is tricked and captured by Xin Fu and Master Yu. The Kyoshi warriors welcomed by the Earth King are actually Azula, Mei, and Ty Lee in disguise, who are silently beginning their takeover of Ba Sing Se. Zuko awakens changed, calm, optimistic, and at peace, as Iroh joyfully opens the Jasmine Dragon tea shop in Ba Sing Se. Meanwhile, Aang and Sokka part ways. Sokka reunites with his father Hakoda and the Southern Water Tribe warriors, while Aang travels to the Eastern Air Temple to train under Guru Patek. The Guru teaches Aang about the 7 chakras and the need to release attachments, especially his love for Katara, to master the Avatar state. Aang struggles to accept this. Elsewhere, Azula, Mei, and Ty Lee, still posing as Kyoshi warriors, learn of the Earth Kingdom's invasion plans and scheme to seize control of Ba Sing Se through the Dai Li. Katara, unaware of their deception, warns Suki about Zuko's presence, only to be captured when she realizes the truth. Meanwhile, Toph, imprisoned in a metal box, discovers how to bend metal and escapes triumphantly. When Aang senses Katara in danger, he abandons his training despite Guru Patek's warning that doing so will block his final chakra permanently. As Toph speeds back toward the city, Azula secretly allies with the imprisoned Long Feng, planning to overthrow the Earth King. Unaware of the looming coup, Iroh and Zuko receive an invitation to serve tea with the king as Azula's trap already set. Aang, Sokka, and Toph rush back to Ba Sing Se after Aang's vision of Katara in danger. Meanwhile, Azula solidifies her control over the Dai Li, preparing to seize the Earth Kingdom. Iroh and Zuko arrive at the palace for their royalty invitation, only to be ambushed by Azula. Iroh fights back with firebending, but Zuko refuses to flee and is captured. Team Avatar learns from Iroh that Katara and Zuko are imprisoned underground in the Crystal Catacombs and set out to rescue them. In the catacombs, Katara confronts Zuko, but softens after learning they share the pain of losing their mothers. When Aang and Iroh arrive, Katara embraces Aang, while Iroh urges Zuko to choose good. Azula appears and tempts Zuko with the promise of honor. When Aang and Katara later battle Azula, Zuko joins his sister, shocking everyone. A massive underground fight begins. Katara bravely battles both Azula and Zuko, but is soon overwhelmed, slammed into a crystal wall by Azula's blast and knocked unconscious. Aang regains his footing and counters with a massive earth wave, but the Dai Li arrive in force, surrounding him and Katara. Despite Katara's fierce defense using her octopus form, realizing he cannot win,
To let her go.
I'm sorry, Katara.
Aang creates a crystal cocoon around himself and begins to meditate, attempting to let go of his earthly attachments, especially his feelings for Katara, to unlock the Avatar state. But before he can open his final chakra, the attack fatally disrupts his connection to the Avatar spirit and Aang collapses, lifeless. Believing him dead, Katara revives him with Spirit Oasis water. Iroh sacrifices himself to help them escape, while Azula and Zuko claim victory in Ba Sing Se. As Team Avatar, the Earth King and Bosco flee on Appa, the king solemnly declares, "The Earth Kingdom has fallen." After surviving Azula's lightning strike at Ba Sing Se, Aang awakens on a dimly lit Fire Nation ship, bandaged and weak, with his hair grown out. Believing he's been captured, he flees his room only to discover his friends disguised in Fire Nation uniforms.
Good to see you back with the living, buddy.
Overwhelmed, he faints as Katara embraces him. Later, Katara heals him and tells him she used spirit water from North to save his life. Aang recalls his near-death experience and feels he's failed as the Avatar. Sokka explains that they captured a Fire Nation ship after rescuing Aang and are now using it for disguise as they prepare to invade the Fire Nation during the Day of Black Sun. Also, the world believes the Avatar is dead, a strategic advantage, according to Sokka, but Aang feels burdened by this falsehood and his perceived failure. Meanwhile, in the Fire Nation, Zuko and Azula return home to a hero's welcome. Azula manipulates events so that Zuko receives credit for killing the Avatar, earning their father Ozai's approval. Zuko is uneasy, feeling the Avatar might still live, but Azula makes it clear he'll bear the blame if that's true. Aang and his friends later encounter a real Fire Nation ship.
They know!
Toph and Katara's bending save them from destruction, though their ship takes heavy damage. Aang, feeling ashamed and pressured, secretly leaves the group to infiltrate the Fire Nation alone. As a storm rages, he nearly drowns, but the spirits of Roku and Yue appear, encouraging him not to give up. Using their guidance, Aang summons strength to survive and washes up on Crescent Island. When his friends find him, Aang accepts that the world must continue believing he's dead to protect their mission. In a symbolic act, he destroys his precious glider, letting go of his past and embracing his hidden path as the Avatar. Zuko struggles with inner turmoil, waking in the night and visiting a Fire Nation prison where his uncle Iroh is held. He fails to speak with him, frustrated by Iroh's silence and haunted by guilt and confusion about his choices. Meanwhile, Aang and his friends travel through the Fire Nation disguised as citizens. To blend in, they steal local clothing and hide Appa in a cave. While in town, Aang accidentally ends up in a Fire Nation school after being mistaken for a truant student due to his uniform. Calling himself Kuzan, he tries to fit in, befriending a girl named Anji and other students, but clashes with her jealous boyfriend, Hyde. Despite Sokka's protests, Aang continues attending the school, claiming he's learning about Fire Nation culture. However, He soon realizes the students are repressed under strict rules forbidding creativity and free expression. Aang decides to inspire change by organizing a secret dance party in a nearby cave. Though hesitant at first, the students eventually join in, dancing freely for the first time. Katara and Aang share a graceful, bending-inspired dance that deepens their bond, witnessed by an impressed crowd. The celebration is interrupted when the headmaster and soldiers raid the cave, but Aang and Team Avatar escape as his school friends help him by cleverly disguising themselves with identical headbands. Meanwhile, Zuko continues visiting Iroh, pleading for guidance and admitting he suspects the Avatar survived. Iroh stays silent, but sheds tears of sorrow for his nephew. Zuko later reveals this to Azula, who warns him against seeing Iroh, further isolating him. Consumed by doubt, Zuko secretly hires a deadly assassin with a metal arm and a third eye, known as Combustion Man, to hunt down and kill the Avatar. As Team Avatar flies away, Aang feels hopeful as the young Avatar, knowing he's inspired the next generation of firebenders to seek freedom. While traveling through the Fire Nation, the group floats down a polluted river and stops at the struggling village of Zhanghui. The villagers suffer from sickness and hunger due to contamination from a nearby Fire Nation factory. Though Sokka insists they stay on schedule for the invasion, Katara is moved by the villagers' suffering and secretly decides to help him. That night, disguised as the legendary Painted Lady, Katara brings food and heals the sick. The next morning, the villagers believe the spirit has blessed them, lifting their spirits. When Appa's supposed illness delays their departure, Katara continues her nightly visits. However, Aang discovers her secret after following the spirit and learns she faked Appa's sickness to buy more time. Instead of scolding her, Aang praises Katara's compassion, and together they infiltrate the factory, destroying it to stop the pollution. Their actions soon attract Fire Nation soldiers, who accuse the villagers of sabotage. Despite Sokka's earlier objections, he stands by Katara when she insists on defending the town. Team Avatar stages an elaborate illusion. Using fog, wind, and bending, they make it appear as if the real Painted Lady is attacking. Terrified, the soldiers flee, and the villagers celebrate their victory. When the disguise is revealed, the villagers initially feel betrayed, but Katara explains her motives and urges them to take responsibility for improving their lives. Inspired, they begin cleaning the river with Team Avatar's help. That night, as Katara washes by the river, the true Painted Lady spirit appears before her, smiling and thanking her for restoring the village's hope and balance before vanishing into the mist. While watching a meteor shower, Aang and the group witness a meteor crash that ignites a nearby forest fire. Aang, Katara, and Toph work together to extinguish it, while Sokka feels useless since he cannot bend. Later, as they dine in town, Sokka laments his lack of special skills compared to the others. Hoping to gain purpose, he visits a weapon shop and becomes captivated by a master-crafted sword made by the renowned Fire Nation swordmaster Piandao. Encouraged by Aang, Sokka decides to seek training under him. Meanwhile, Iroh, imprisoned and mocked by guards, secretly begins training in his cell, building his strength in preparation for escape while maintaining the illusion of weakness. Piandao accepts him as a student and teaches him that a sword is an extension of one's mind and creativity. Sokka's training includes calligraphy, painting, and combat practice, gradually honing his discipline and ingenuity. When it's time to forge his own weapon, Sokka chooses a unique material, the meteorite they discovered earlier. With Piandao's help, he forges a sleek black sword unlike any other. Afterward, Sokka confesses that he is from the Southern Water Tribe, not the Fire Nation. Piandao challenges him to a duel, testing his courage and skill. Though Sokka loses, the master praises his creativity and bravery, revealing he knew Sokka's true identity all along.
I'm a little old to be fighting the Avatar.
How did you know?
Oh, I've been around a while.
He gifts Sokka the sword, affirming that true mastery transcends nations, and gives him a Pai Sho tile of the White Lotus, a symbol of secret wisdom and unity. As Team Avatar departs, Sokka gives Toph a fragment of meteorite, dubbing it Space Earth, while Iroh, now visibly stronger and more disciplined, finishes his secret preparations for freedom. Zuko, Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee are sent to Ember Island for a vacation, while Fire Lord Ozai holds private meetings. Though Ty Lee enjoys the trip, the others resent being treated like children and dislike the overly cheerful beach house. Meanwhile, Aang and his friends relax in secluded hot springs, unaware that 2 Fire Nation soldiers spot Aang and send a message to Ozai. The message is intercepted by Combustion Man, the assassin Zuko secretly hired to kill the Avatar, who begins tracking them. On the beach, Azula, Mai, Zuko, and Ty Lee awkwardly mingle with local teens. Azula's competitive nature ruins a volleyball game, and her attempts to flirt later terrifies a boy. Zuko's jealousy over Mai's interactions with another guy leads to a violent outburst that ends their relationship and gets him thrown out of a party. Meanwhile, Ty Lee, admired by a group of boys, reveals her insecurities after Azula mocks her, admitting she joined the circus to stand out from her identical sisters. Zuko isolates himself at his family's abandoned beach house, reflecting on his lost childhood. When Azula finds him, the group gathers around a fire and finally confronts their buried emotions. Ty Lee admits her need for attention. Mai reveals her repression from strict parents, and Zuko breaks down, confessing he is angry at himself for not knowing what's right anymore. Even Azula opens up, saying her mother saw her as a monster, something she both accepts and resents. Having shared their vulnerabilities, the group bonds for the first time. To end the night, they return to the party they were kicked out of and gleefully trash the house together. Aang is visited in a dream by Avatar Roku, who tells him it's time to learn about Roku's history with Fire Lord Sozin. Following Roku's instructions, the group travels to Roku's volcanic island home. As the summer solstice begins, Aang meditates and enters the spirit world, where Roku recounts his story. Centuries earlier, Roku and Sozin were best friends who shared the same birthday. When Roku was revealed to be the new Avatar, he left to master the other elements.
It is our honor to serve you, Avatar Roku.
Training under air nomad Gyatso, a water tribe master Takukak, and an Earth Kingdom warrior Sood. After 12 years, Roku returned to the Fire Nation as a fully realized Avatar and married his love Ta Min, with Sozin as his best man. However, Sozin's ambition to expand Fire Nation influence alarmed Roku. When Sozin began invading the Earth Kingdom, Roku confronted him, defeated him, and warned him that if he continued his conquest, their friendship would no longer protect him. Years later, Roku's island erupted in a massive volcanic explosion. He saved his wife and villagers, but as he fought to stop the eruption, another volcano erupts. When hope seems lost, Sozin arrived to help him.
Need a hand, old friend?
Sozin?
The two friends were able to successfully control the lava flow. Later, when Roku was overcome by poisonous gas and begged for help, Sozin abandoned him, realizing that his friend's death would enable Fire Nation dominance. Roku and his dragon Fang perished together, and Aang was born soon after. Meanwhile, Zuko receives a mysterious message urging him to uncover his great-grandfather's death. After infiltrating the Fire Sage's catacombs, he discovers Sozin's final testament, detailing his betrayal of Roku and the genocide of the air nomads. Furious and confused, Zuko confronts Iroh, who reveals the truth. Zuko descends from both Sozin and Roku, his two great-grandfathers. His dual heritage explains his inner conflict and gives him a destiny to redeem their family by restoring balance to the world, just like the Avatar.
Your mother's grandfather was Avatar Roku.
Surprisingly, the day begins with Toph being captured in Fire Fountain City, as Katara seemingly betrays her to the guards. The story then flashes back 3 days earlier. While training Aang, Toph accidentally hits Katara, sparking a muddy fight between them. Later, Toph persuades Aang and Sokka to visit town, where she uses her earthbending to cheat at gambling and scamming games, earning large sums of money. Katara disapproves of their behavior, warning it's risky and immoral, but Toph mocks her for acting like a mother. When Katara suggests Toph's defiance stems from missing her own parents, Toph storms off in anger. Soon after, Sokka buys a messenger bird, Hawkeye, and finds a wanted poster for the Runaway, Toph, with a bounty on her head. While Katara discovers the poster and confronts Toph, the two refuse to speak to each other. Later, Sokka helps Toph see Katara's nurturing side by explaining how Katara became a mother figure after their mother's death. Overhearing this, Katara realizes Toph appreciates her care more than she admits. Wanting to mend their friendship, Katara proposes they work together for one last ultimate scam, pretending to turn Toph in for the bounty. However, the plan turns out to be a trap set by Combustion Man. Imprisoned in a wooden cage, both girls are unable to bend. Katara cleverly uses her own sweat as water to cut through the wood and free them. They rush to help Aang and Sokka, arriving just in time. During the battle, Toph accidentally strikes Combustion Man's forehead tattoo, causing his power to backfire and explode around him, forcing the group to flee. Afterward, Toph writes an emotional letter to her parents, dictated by Katara, expressing her feelings and sending it off with Hawkeye, finally bringing peace to her inner conflict. While camping in the woods, the group tells ghost stories around a campfire. Their fun turns eerie when an old woman named Hama suddenly appears, frightening them before kindly offering shelter at her inn. She warns that villagers have been mysteriously disappearing during full moons. The next day, Hama befriends Katara, revealing they are both from the Southern Water Tribe. As Aang, Sokka, and Toph investigate the disappearances, Hama begins teaching Katara advanced waterbending techniques, showing her how to draw water from the air and even living beings. She promises to teach her a powerful final skill under the full moon. Meanwhile, the others learn from a villager that the missing people aren't victims of spirits, but were lured and imprisoned beneath a nearby mountain. Discovering the captives, they are horrified to learn that Hama, the friendly innkeeper, is responsible. That night, under the full moon, Hama takes Katara deep into the forest and reveals her secret. Captured years ago by the Fire Nation, she was held in dry prisons where waterbending was impossible. Desperate, she discovered that water exists inside all living beings and used it to control a guard's body, escaping through a horrific art of bloodbending. Katara is horrified, refusing to learn such a cruel technique, but Hama insists it is necessary vengeance for the destruction of their tribe. When Katara refuses, Hama attacks, using bloodbending to control her like a puppet. Katara breaks free and a fierce battle ensues under the moonlight. When Aang and Sokka rush in, Hama takes control of them too, leaving Katara with no choice but to use bloodbending on Hama to stop her. The villagers capture Hama, but she laughs triumphantly, declaring that Katara has become a true bloodbender. Overcome with guilt and horror, Katara breaks down in tears as her friends comfort her. With only 4 days left before the invasion, Aang and his friends camp at the Black Cliffs. Aang grows increasingly anxious about facing Fire Lord Ozai and begins suffering from bizarre nightmares. First forgetting his pants before Ozai, then failing a math test, and later missing the invasion entirely. Unable to sleep, Aang's stress spirals into exhaustion. Katara, Toph, and Sokka each try to help him relax. Katara uses meditation and hot springs. Sokka attempts amateur therapy, hilariously aided by his fake beard, and Toph offers an intense earthbending massage, followed by the terrifying suggestion of porcupine acupuncture. None of it works, and Aang becomes more delusional with each passing night. Meanwhile, in the Fire Nation, Zuko enjoys his royal privileges but feels unsettled. When he learns about an upcoming war meeting he wasn't invited to, Azula mocks his paranoia and tells him it's obvious he should attend. Zuko stubbornly refuses, but later realizes he was expected all along and reluctantly joins the meeting. where Ozai treats him as a trusted advisor, though Zuko secretly feels hollow and conflicted. Back at camp, Aang's sleep deprivation worsens, leading to vivid hallucinations as he imagines Appa and Momo sword fighting, Guru Pathik floating and singing about chakras, and even dreams of confessing his love to Katara, calling her his forever girl. His friends build him a soft bed of koala sheep wool, but Aang, thinking it's another illusion, refuses to rest. Finally, Katara reassures him that he is ready, reminding him of his long journey and growth. Comforted, Aang finally drifts off to sleep. In his last dream, Aang once again faces Ozai, who mocks him for forgetting his pants. This time, Aang laughs and points out that Ozai is the one without pants. On the morning of the invasion, Aang wakes up cheerful and confident, finally rested and ready to face Fire Lord Ozai, though he admits he still cannot access the Avatar state after Azula's lightning strike. Soon, a massive fleet of Water Tribe ships arrive, bringing allies from across the world. Hakoda, Bato, Haru and his father Tyro, the Foggy Swamp Tribe, the Boulder, the Hippo, Teo, and the Mechanist. Spirits are high as everyone reunites, and Teo gifts Aang a new glider with a hidden snack compartment. Meanwhile, in prison, Iroh continues to feign weakness while secretly preparing for his escape. A kind guard, Ming, brings him extra food and tea. Iroh warns her to stay away that afternoon, hinting something significant will happen. As the invasion force assembles, Sokka nervously attempts to deliver the battle plan but falters, so Hakoda takes over. The strategy is clear. Storm the beach, reach the Fire Lord before the eclipse, and end the 100-Year War. Before leaving, Aang shaves his head and kisses Katara goodbye, confessing his feelings before flying off. At the same time, Zuko writes a farewell note to Mai and resolves to confront his father. The invasion begins under cover of mist, but alarms sound at the Great Gates of Azulan. The Fire Nation believes they've trapped the fleet, until they discovered the ships are decoys. The real force emerges from underwater submarines, attacking the capital's shore. Earthbenders deploy armored tanks, and Swampbenders unleash seaweed monsters, overwhelming the Fire Nation's defenses. During the assault, Hakoda is wounded, and Sokka bravely takes command, leading the troops forward. As Aang breaks through to the palace, victory seems near, until he discovers the capital eerily deserted. In the empty throne room, he realizes the truth. Fire Lord Ozai is gone, and the invasion has been anticipated. After discovering the Fire Nation capital is empty, Aang and the invasion team realized Ozai anticipated their attack. Sokka deduces the Fire Lord is hiding in a secret underground bunker, and he, Aang, and Toph set out to find it, while the rest of the army presses forward. Using her seismic sense, Toph locates the bunker within a volcano, and the group tunnels through magma-filled passages to reach it. However, when they burst into the Fire Lord's chamber, they find Azula waiting instead. She reveals she has known about their plans for months and stalls them while the eclipse unfolds. Meanwhile, Zuko confronts Ozai, confessing that Azula, not he, was responsible for the Avatar's supposed death. Declaring that the Fire Nation's war is unjust, Zuko rejects his father's cruelty and announces his intent to join Aang and restore balance. Ozai taunts him, revealing that Zuko's mother was banished for conspiring to kill Fire Lord Azulan to save her son. As the eclipse ends, Ozai regains his power and strikes Zuko with lightning, but Zuko redirects it back, escaping before Ozai can recover. At the same time, Aang, Sokka, and Toph battle Azula and her Dai Li agents. Though powerless, Azula outmaneuvers them until the eclipse ends. She escapes, revealing her father's location now that Ozai's power has returned. Realizing they've been tricked, Sokka orders a retreat. Outside, Fire Nation airships appear, decimating the invasion fleet. With their submarines destroyed, Hakoda commands the younger fighters to flee while the adults surrender. Aang and his friends, along with Teo, Haru, and the Duke, escape on Appa toward the Western Air Temple to regroup. Azula watches from an airship, confident they will return. Meanwhile, Zuko pursues them by hot air balloon, determined to join the Avatar and finally choose his own destiny. After the failed invasion, the group flees to the Western Air Temple for refuge, accompanied by Teo, Haru, and the Duke. Exhausted, they discover the temple's stunning architecture built upside down beneath a cliff. Meanwhile, Zuko, following them in a war balloon, camps nearby and practices speeches to convince the group to let him join as Aang's firebending teacher, but his rehearsals go disastrously. The team debates their next move. Sokka suggests returning to Aang's original training plan before Sozin's comet, but they despair over finding a firebending master. Zuko eventually appears before them, sincerely offering to join and teach Aang. However, the group immediately attacks, unable to trust him. Though Appa warmly greets Zuko, Katara furiously rejects him, and Zuko accidentally makes things worse by revealing he once hired Combustion Man to kill them. Rejected and humiliated, Zuko laments, "Why am I so bad at being good?" Toph, believing Zuko's sincerity, sneaks out at night to talk to him, but is accidentally burned when he mistakes her for an attacker. The group dismisses her defense of Zuko, convinced he's still dangerous. Soon after, Combustion Man appears and ambushes them. Zuko intervenes, saving the group and trying to call off the assassin, but Combustion Man turns on him. During the battle, Sokka cleverly uses his boomerang to strike the assassin's forehead tattoo, blocking his chi and causing his final explosion. Grateful, Aang finally trusts Zuko, who apologizes for his past mistakes and asks to help restore balance. One by one, the group reluctantly accepts him. Toph for revenge, Sokka for practicality, and Katara only for Aang's sake. That night, Katara warns Zuko that if he ever betrays Aang, she will kill him without hesitation. Alone, Zuko reflects on Iroh's teachings, determined not to fail his new destiny or his new friends. At the Western Air Temple, Aang begins firebending training with Zuko, but both quickly realize Zuko's firebending has weakened. Despite his efforts, even training at lower altitudes fails to reignite his power. That night, Zuko admits he has lost his firebending, and Katara mocks him coldly. Aang suggests Zuko's power faded because he no longer draws from anger, his former source of strength. Toph advises him to rediscover firebending's true origins, just as she learned earthbending from the badger moles. Zuko explains that dragons were the first firebenders, though they are thought extinct. He proposes visiting the ruins of the ancient Sun Warrior civilization, who first learned from the dragons. Zuko and Aang journey to the ruins, narrowly avoiding traps and discovering a vast mural of dragons teaching humans firebending. Zuko reveals that his ancestor, Fire Lord Sozin, began hunting dragons for glory, and that Iroh supposedly killed the last one. Inside a sealed chamber, Aang and Zuko uncover statues performing a dance-like firebending form, the Dancing Dragon. When they mimic it, they trigger a trap and are captured by the still-living Sun Warriors. After explaining their purpose, the tribe tests them by having them carry the first fire up the mountain to present to the firebending masters. At the summit, two dragons, Ran and Shaw, emerge alive, circling Aang and Zuko in a display of vibrant, multicolored fire. The duo performs the dancing dragon form, and the dragons reveal the true nature of fire, not destruction, but life, warmth, and energy. Zuko realizes his inner fire comes not from rage, but from his drive to restore balance. Aang, inspired, rediscovers firebending as an expression of vitality. Returning to the Western Air Temple, Zuko and Aang demonstrate the dancing dragon to the amused group. Though they're teased, both have finally grasped the true, harmonious meaning of firebending. At the Western Air Temple, Zuko serves tea to the group, attempting at one of Iroh's jokes, but no one laughs. Later, Sokka privately asks Zuko where the Fire Nation keeps its war prisoners, worried about his captured father Hakoda. Zuko reluctantly reveals the most secure prison is the Boiling Rock, located in the middle of a volcanic lake. Though Sokka promises not to act rashly, that night he secretly tries to leave on Appa, only to find Zuko waiting. Realizing Sokka plans to rescue his father, Zuko decides to help, and they depart together using Zuko's stolen war balloon. During the awkward journey, Sokka and Zuko bond briefly, most memorably when Sokka laments, "My first girlfriend turned into the moon," to which Zuko replies, "That's rough, buddy." When they arrive, the balloon crashes, forcing them to infiltrate the prison disguised as guards. Inside, they witness Chit Sang, a fiery inmate punished for firebending and thrown into the Cooler, a freezing isolation cell. While searching for Hakoda, Zuko learns there are no Water Tribe prisoners here, devastating Sokka, until they unexpectedly find Suki imprisoned. Disguised as a guard, Sokka sneaks into her cell, revealing his identity. Overjoyed, Suki kisses him, but when a real guard appears, Sokka pretends to arrest Zuko to avoid suspicion. Unfortunately, Zuko is taken before the warden, Mei's uncle, who vows to hand him over to Fire Lord Ozai for a reward. Later, Zuko joins Sokka and Suki in forming an escape plan involving a modified cooler turned into a makeshift boat. However, upon overhearing that new war prisoners will arrive the next day, Sokka delays the plan, hoping his father is among them. When the gondola finally arrives, the last prisoner to step off is Hakoda, alive and captive. Sokka's determination strengthens. His real rescue mission is about to begin. Disguised as a guard, Sokka is overjoyed to see his father, but must hide his identity. Later, Sokka sneaks into Hakoda's cell, revealing himself and reuniting with his father. Meanwhile, the warden interrogates Chit Sang, torturing him for information about his failed escape. Under pressure, Chit Sang claims his accomplice was a disguised guard, protecting Sokka by accusing another guard. Zuko, imprisoned after being discovered, is confronted by Mei, who angrily berates him for leaving her. Zuko insists he left to save the Fire Nation, but she refuses to understand. Sokka regroups with Suki, Zuko, and Hakoda to plan a new escape. They'll hijack the prison's gondola, taking the warden hostage to prevent the guards from cutting the cable. Sokka tricks a guard into unlocking all the cells, sparking chaos. With Chit Sang's help, a full riot erupts. Suki's acrobatics allow her to capture the warden single-handedly. The group boards the gondola with the warden as their hostage, but Azula and Ty Lee arrive and attack. Sokka and Zuko battle Azula atop the gondola, while Suki duels Ty Lee along the cable. The warden breaks free and orders the guards to cut the line, but just as they're about to sever it, Mei intervenes, disabling the guards and saving Zuko, declaring, "I love Zuko more than I fear you." Furious, Azula confronts her, only for Ty Lee to chi-block Azula to protect Mei. Both are arrested and imprisoned. Sokka's team escapes using a captured Fire Nation airship, returning triumphantly to the Western Air Temple. Katara joyfully reunites with her father as Sokka declares they found the best meat of all, the meat of friendship and fatherhood. At dawn in the Western Air Temple, Aang deflects a bomb attack as Azula's airships ambush the group. Amid the chaos, Zuko saves Katara from falling debris, but she angrily rejects his help. As the team escapes, Zuko stays behind to confront Azula, who declares she's there to celebrate becoming an only child. They duel atop the airships until an explosion sends both plummeting as Aang rescues Zuko while Azula barely survives. The group regroups on a remote beach. Though Sokka toasts Zuko for saving them, Katara refuses to forgive him for betraying her in Ba Sing Se. When Zuko confronts her, she tells him the only way to make amends is to bring back her mother or reclaim Ba Sing Se. Troubled, Zuko later visits Sokka, asking about her mother's death. Sokka reveals that their village was raided by the fleet, whose flag bore sea ravens. Zuko recognizes the fleet, the Southern Raiders, and resolves to help Katara find her mother's killer. The next morning, Zuko tells Katara he knows who killed her mother. Despite Aang's pleas for forgiveness over vengeance, Katara insists she must face the man responsible. Zuko and Katara infiltrate a Fire Nation outpost, discover the raiders' last captain, Yon Ra, retired to Ember Island, and track him down. Confronting him in the rain, Katara learns Yon Ra killed her mother, Kaya, after Kaya falsely claimed to be the last Waterbender to protect her daughter. Enraged, Katara nearly kills Yon Ra with ice daggers but stops herself, realizing he's nothing more than a weak, pitiful man. She spares him, leaving him sobbing in the rain. Back on Ember Island, Katara admits to Aang she cannot forgive Yon Ra but chooses to forgive Zuko. As they embrace, Zuko acknowledges Aang was right about forgiveness, though his question about how Aang will face Fire Lord Ozai leaves the Avatar uncertain. At the Fire Lord's beach house, the group joined by Zuko, Suki, take refuge. Sokka excitedly shows everyone a poster for a Fire Nation play, The Boy in the Iceberg, dramatizing their adventures. Though skeptical, the group attends. The play opens with exaggerated versions of Katara and Sokka, the former endlessly preaching hope and the latter obsessed with food. Aang is portrayed by a cheerful female actor, to his embarrassment. Zuko's actor has his scar on the wrong side, and Iroh is depicted as a glutton. The group watches in disbelief as their early adventures are misrepresented. Yue ascending to the moon after eating pickled fish, Jet destroying a village for Katara, and Aang defeating Zuko in ridiculous fashion. Only Toph, amused by the absurdity, enjoys the show. She's portrayed as a huge muscular man who sees by screaming sound waves, to her great delight. The story proceeds through their journey, mocking Zuko's angst and inventing awkward romances, like Katara and Zuko sharing a cave embrace, infuriating the real Aang, who storms out. During intermission, Sokka sneaks backstage to feed his actor better jokes, and Toph reassures Zuko that his uncle would be proud of how far he's come. The play resumes with Aang entering the Avatar state and being struck down by Azula's lightning, to roaring applause from the Fire Nation audience. Outside, Aang confides in Katara about his feelings, but when he kisses her, she pulls away, confused and upset. The final act portrays their upcoming invasion and future battles. The play ends with Zuko's onstage death, Aang's defeat, and Fire Lord Ozai's triumph, earning a standing ovation. Horrified, the real heroes leave, agreeing the play was awful, though Sokka admits at least the effects were decent. At the Fire Lord's beach house, Aang trains in firebending under Zuko's watch, but the others relax instead, frustrating Zuko. When they head to the beach to have fun, Zuko suddenly attacks Aang, furious that they're wasting time with Sozin's comet only 3 days away. The group admits they thought the Fire Nation already won the war, but Zuko grimly reveals Ozai's plan, to use the comet's power to burn down the Earth Kingdom, just as Sozin destroyed the air nomads. Horrified, they realize Aang must face Ozai before the comet arrives. Zuko later teaches Aang lightning redirection, a technique based on channeling energy like waterbenders. When Aang hesitates about killing Ozai, Zuko insists he has no choice. During battle training, Sokka creates a practice dummy, the Melon Lord, but Aang refuses to strike the final blow, saying it feels wrong. That night, after seeing a childhood photo of Ozai, Aang insists he cannot take a life, even Ozai's. The others argue it's necessary, but Aang angrily storms off to meditate alone. As Aang sleeps on the porch, a mysterious island appears offshore. Drawn toward it, he unknowingly walks into the ocean, with Momo following. The next morning, his friends discover his footprints leading into the sea and panic. Believing he wasn't captured or in the spirit world, they split up to search Ember Island. Toph humorously calls her time with Zuko the worst field trip ever. Finding no trace of Aang or Momo, they turn to June, the bounty hunter, to track him down. Meanwhile, in the Fire Nation, Ozai declares himself the Phoenix King, ruler of the world, and appoints Azula as the new Fire Lord to guard their homeland. Elsewhere, Aang awakens on a strange living island in the middle of the ocean, alone and bewildered. At an Earth Kingdom tavern, Zuko hires the bounty hunter June and her Shirsu Nyla to track Aang using his staff's scent, but Nyla cannot find him, saying Aang doesn't exist. Meanwhile, Aang awakens on a mysterious moving island, realizing he's not in the spirit world since he can still bend. Seeking answers, he climbs to the top, but finds none. Zuko, unable to locate Aang, decides to find Iroh, believing he's the only one who might defeat Ozai. Using Iroh's old sandals, June leads Team Avatar to Ba Sing Se, where they're met by Masters Pakku, Zhang, Piandao, and Bumi, all members of the Order of the White Lotus, who revealed they were summoned by Iroh, their Grand Lotus. They lead the group to his camp. On the island, Aang consults his past lives for guidance. Roku admits his indecision caused the 100-Year War. Kyoshi insists justice must come before peace, even if it means killing. Kuruk warns Aang not to repeat his mistake of inaction, and Yang Chen reminds him that the Avatar's duty to the world outweighs spiritual detachment. Desperate, Aang still resists killing. At the White Lotus camp, Zuko tearfully reunites with Iroh, who forgives him, saying he was never angry, only afraid Zuko had lost his way. Iroh reveals that Aang alone must face Ozai, while Zuko's destiny is to become the new Fire Lord and restore the Fire Nation's honor. Zuko asks Katara to accompany him to confront Azula, while Sokka, Suki, and Toph prepare to stop the Fire Nation's air fleet. Aang discovers the island is a giant lion turtle, who imparts cryptic wisdom about balancing light and darkness, then grants Aang a mysterious power. As Sozin's comet blazes across the sky, Ozai's fleet launches, and Aang, now ready, prepares for the final battle. As Sozin's comet blazes through the sky, Zuko and Katara head to the Fire Nation, worried for Aang, while Aang himself prepares to face Ozai. At the palace, Azula grows increasingly paranoid before her coronation, banishing her servants, the Dai Li, and even her mentors Lo and Li in a fit of mistrust and madness. Meanwhile, Sokka, Suki, and Toph infiltrate Ozai's massive airship fleet. Using clever tricks, Sokka lures the crew into the bomb bay and drops them safely into the ocean, seizing control of the ship. Elsewhere, the Order of the White Lotus, led by Iroh, launches its liberation of Ba Sing Se, with Iroh's comet-enhanced fire blast breaching the city wall. At the palace, Azula's mental state worsens. She hallucinates her mother Ursa, cuts her own hair in frustration, and breaks down sobbing. Above the Earth Kingdom, Ozai, now the self-proclaimed Phoenix King, unleashes massive firestorms, burning the land below. Aang intercepts him, destroying his flagship's engines to draw him into battle. Their duel begins fiercely, as Aang skillfully bends all four elements but refuses to kill. When Ozai fires a lightning bolt, Aang redirects it harmlessly into the sky, showing mercy. Ozai seizes the opening and hurls Aang into a lake below, but Aang barely survives using waterbending. In the palace courtyard, Zuko and Azula face off in a comet-fueled Agni Kai. Though Zuko gains the upper hand, Azula deceitfully targets Katara with lightning. Zuko throws himself in front of her, deflecting the lightning, but suffering the recoil and collapsing, gravely injured. Meanwhile, Ozai corners Aang within an earth shield, mocking his pacifism and the extinction of the air nomads, declaring that Avatar's end has come as their climactic battle rages on. Ozai relentlessly bombards Aang's earth shield, mocking his weakness. Meanwhile, aboard the Fire Nation ships, Toph and Sokka sabotage one by metal bending its rudder, causing it to crash into others. When they fall off the ship, Sokka breaks his leg, saving Toph. Toph dangles over the edge as Sokka fends off two firebenders, losing both his longtime boomerang and beloved space sword in the process.
I don't think Boomerang is coming back, Toph. It looks like this is the end.
Suki arrives in another airship to rescue them. Aang, overwhelmed by Ozai's comet-enhanced firepower, is thrown into a stone wall, triggering his blocked chakra. Entering the Avatar state and gaining the power of past Avatars, Aang unleashes the combined fury of all four elements, overpowering Ozai in a spectacular battle. The Order of the White Lotus, led by Iroh, liberates Ba Sing Se, restoring the Earth Kingdom's capital. At the Fire Nation Palace, Azula rains fire and lightning on Katara, driving her from any water and taunting the fallen Zuko. Katara finds some water, but Azula overwhelms her, forcing her to flee until she spots a grate with water below and chains nearby. Katara then traps Azula in chains using waterbending, ending the fight. Azula collapses, screaming hysterically as Katara heals Zuko's wound. Elsewhere, Ozai's counterattacks fail against Aang's overwhelming power. Aang traps him with water and earth, speaking with the voices of past avatars.
You and your forefathers have devastated the balance of this world, and now you shall pay the ultimate price!
He unleashes a 4-element finishing blow, but refuses to kill Ozai, breaking free of the Avatar state's rage. When Ozai attacks again, Aang uses the lion turtle's energy bending. Aang bends Ozai's inner energy, risking his own destruction. His energy is nearly overtaken by Ozai's, but he prevails, sending a pillar of blue light into the sky. Aang strips Ozai of his bending, finally ending the 100-year war. Aang douses the burning lands and reunites with his friends. The next day, an injured Zuko struggles to dress for his coronation until May arrives and helps him to his delight. They share a kiss and embrace each other. Amidst thousands, Zuko is crowned Fire Lord, vowing to restore peace alongside Avatar Aang. He visits his imprisoned father, telling him his banishment helped him find his true path, and demanding to know the fate of his mother Ursa. In Ba Sing Se, life flourishes again. May and Ty Lee rejoin their friends. Ty Lee is now a Kyoshi warrior. The group relaxes at Iroh's Jasmine Dragon, laughing over Sokka's terrible group portrait. Outside, Aang and Katara share a quiet, tender moment, embracing and sealing their love with a kiss as the world finally finds peace. With that ends the final season of Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Thank you for being with us throughout the journey of restoring balance to the world.